You're listening to When Isabel Met Aviva, a podcast about rom-coms, female-driven screenwriting, and how to break into the entertainment industry. I'm Aviva.
And I'm Isabel.
And thanks for tuning in, guys. We have an interview today, so
Yay.
I'm excited.
I'm really excited about this one because they're a writing duo, so it's an interview with two people, and I always think about what is it like to be in a writing duo and how does that
work? I'm really curious about that too, because I would love to write with you, Isabel, one day.
Yeah.
I love the idea of collaborating and then also working on individual projects.
I know. I'm so curious to hear what their process is like, and I feel like I'm sure you've seen Kiwi and Karen talk a little bit about what they do, and they seem like they've known each other for so long. So I feel like when you already have that strong relationship, maybe that makes it, I don't know, you kind of either grow together, or if you've known each other for so long, it's fairly easy. But I'm curious to know how they met and how they started writing together.
So we are speaking with Elizabeth Hackett and Hilary Galanoy, and they wrote a bunch of rom-coms on Netflix. They wrote Falling in Love, which I watched a bunch when it came out. It was one of my comfort movies. It still is.
When
set
did that
in
come
New
out?
Zealand, 2019. And
okay.
I can't remember if it was right before the pandemic. Was the pandemic 2020? So maybe right before.
Maybe it was right around that time.
I just feel like I watched it a lot in isolation, and it was really comforting. I was like, I want to go to New Zealand and have an inn and fall in love. And they wrote A Perfect Pairing, which is set in Australia with Victoria Justice, and that is also a Wonderlust. They do a lot of Wonderlust rom-coms, and they have one coming up on their IMDb. Maybe they can talk to us about that. That's set in Italy. And
my gosh, this is all your dream movies.
It's literally my dream. So, and I was telling Isabel this just for a backstory, is that I remember DMing Elizabeth Hackett on Twitter in 2019. I don't even know if she saw this. No hard feelings.
That you remember all the people you've DM'd. Yeah. That's a great title for a rom-com. Yeah. All the people I've DM'd.
Which, not that many, but I was like, I'm gonna go for it because I just really felt connected to this movie, and I wanted to see how to become a rom-com writer for Netflix and write those kinds of films. But we never connected, which is totally fine. I don't think she even saw my message.
Lost in the message request.
Yeah. But then my producer, Karen Glass, spoke to me months ago that she had connected with this writing duo, and it happened to be the writers of Falling in Love. And
gosh,
she was like,
look at that.
I know. So maybe this is a manifestation. I know.
You are really good at manifesting
maybe
things.
I am. Someone else, my boyfriend's told me that too, and I'm like, am I? But maybe the more I believe that I am, the more I will manifest.
Well, you're also kind of connecting everything, you know?
Yeah. So it was really a full circle moment. And so Karen connected us through email, and we were about to talk to them. So
yay, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Is there anything else we want to say in the intro? I think that's good.
I think we're good, yeah.
Okay. So let's bring them on.
Hello, everybody. We're very excited to be here today.
Yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate your time, and we're really excited to chat with you both because you're our first writing duo that we've ever brought onto our podcast.
Ooh, we're like a novelty act.
Yeah, we're really curious about that. So can we start just with your meet cute, how you two met and became a writing duo?
We used to always try to think of some hilarious story, we were double booked for a children's birthday party, or I don't know, we both went down in a plane crash, but we both used to work in film development, which is where you work with producers and you are the person out there finding scripts and developing things with writers. And we each worked at different, we worked for the same producer for a while, or at separate times, and then we both realized that we wanted to be writers, and a friend said, why don't you two write a script together? And so we did. And I don't know, Hilary, we sold it.
Yes, exactly. I was still I worked in, so it's creative development, because, and I know in other fields development means raising money, but we're in the film business or the television business, it means creatively nurturing projects from conception to screen. And I was still, when we wrote the script, Liz and I became really good friends just through work. And then Liz had actually pivoted away a little bit from, she was working as an entertainment journalist. And we were very lucky to sell our first thing. Doesn't always happen. But of course, because we had been working in the business already, we knew people. And so we landed a manager right away. Like, we sent it out to some people that we knew and everything. So it did help, because of course, if you can, people, get representation, people are excited. Like, people were like, oh, Liz and Hilary wrote a script. Like, people are excited to read it. And so that did help. We did sell it to MGM, which doesn't exist anymore, but in a preemptive sale. And then we were off to the races. So
awesome. So had either of you written a screenplay before that, like you switched to wanting to write? Or I'm kind of curious if either of you can pinpoint like the moment when you knew, like, hey, I kind of want to try being the writer.
I wrote a screenplay a number of years before that did get an agent but did not sell. And I went to film school. So but it was, when Liz and I wrote together, I definitely felt, and we'll talk about writing partnerships, I definitely felt like the missing link, like the other half of my brain kicked in. Like, I still think that other screenplay's cute, but now I realize, like, I really work better in a partnership. And then Liz.
Yeah, I had never written a script before. I was a creative writing major. I went to USC, and but I had, my first job was as a reader. So by the time we met, I started working.
You might want to explain what a reader is, Liz.
Yeah, so I don't even know. I mean, they're probably all done by AI now. But in the 90s, I worked for Demi Moore and Suzanne Todd had a production company at Universal. And most companies and studios had these things called script readers, and a lot of places do, where you get the script, you write a synopsis, you write an analysis of it, and basically you're kind of the first line of defense of, does this get passed up to the next person? Is this worth looking at? So by the time I met Hilary, I had read thousands of scripts, and at this point, I don't even know. I sometimes I wish I could have some sort of like a head count of how many scripts I've read. But so that was kind of my film school, was just reading, and then by the time you get up to the executive point, you're sitting in these meetings with writers, and you're like, well, they wrote sort of an okay script, but they got an agent, and I'm like, I bet I could write a sort of okay script and get an agent. I'm just like, why not? Let's, this doesn't seem that impossible. So that was the impetus, was realizing if they can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how do you, when you have a new idea for a script, does it do it? Like, I'm just curious how the writing goes for working with someone else when you're starting from scratch.
Liz and I, various so writing partners are very common actually in Hollywood. Once again, I couldn't give you a statistic, but I would say probably a third of writers, or at least a quarter,
at least a fourth,
are writing partners. And we're very fortunate. Sometimes, it's couples often are writing partners. Usually it's people that just came together for whatever reason. A lot of writing partners hate each other. We're very fortunate. We're the exact, because you work well together, but you don't, you know what I mean? Like, you don't mesh. We are the best of friends. We are actually like sisters to each other. We're very close to each other's families. We were bridesmaids in each other's weddings. You know what I mean? Like, we're very fortunate. We doesn't mean we don't fight like sisters sometimes too. But
sometimes when you're like sisters, you fight more, but it's productive fighting. It's
exactly
like at the end of it, you're like, friends? Okay.
Exactly. So we usually the ideas are about 50-50. Sometimes we read an article or we hear a story, or we're just like, hey, like, wouldn't these two elements be really cool together? Or, whatever. We're happy to talk about some of our movies and where those ideas came from. And then Liz and I break the story together, usually in the same room, but like during the pandemic, we just a lot of phone and FaceTime and, whatever. And then we write a super detailed outline, because if we don't, then one of us will just go off on a tangent. It's like, when did the main character get a pony?
Yeah, no. So when we say super detailed, it's 15 to 17 pages, single spaced. I mean, we really try to just have it be as airtight as possible. And of course, it'll change. Yeah, it'll change as you're writing sometimes. But we really want to have as detailed of like a Google map as we can before we put finger to keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we write in separate rooms. You're looking at anybody who's watching the YouTube channel. These are the separate rooms we write in. We don't live
This
that
is
far
my
from
couch.
each other.
This is my office.
Nice.
Yes, we don't live that far from each other. Just about a half an hour away. But we talk multiple times a day, texting, email. But what we do is we kind of do it round robin style. One of us starts and writes like the first 20 pages, sends it to the other one. She rewrites that, does the next 20 pages. Usually, sometimes if we're in a hurry, one of us will do the rough draft and then the other one will rewrite. So,
Yeah.
you know, we sort of mix it up. Like, it just really depends, but it is very collaborative. And the good news is Liz and I have the same sense of humor, pretty much.
And we're usually working on more than one thing at the same time. So, you know, while one's working on one, the other one's working on another. And then we're, you know, the thing about being a screenwriter is you really have to kind of stack the projects up like planes in an airport, because you never know which one's going to go. And you never know what's going to get made. You never know what's going to feel like it's going forward and then stall, or one that's going to go, but it's just going to take 2 years to happen. So we constantly have, you know, more than, I don't know, 3 or 4 things going at the same time. Yeah. And again, one might be a almost finished script, one might just be an outline, one might be a paragraph where we're like, this is kind of funny.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, and then our very last part of our process is right before we turn a script in, we get together in our living room with like giant Diet Cokes or whatever, and we put this script up on the Apple TV, and we go through it line by line and read it out loud, and then sit here and workshop jokes and make sure there's no typos. Because if I can give just a word of advice to your listeners, typos will get you every time.
Yeah, even the ones, even the ones, you'll get like the sneak attack ones. You're like, wait, I've read this 17 times and I just never saw that. But yes, typos are and if you are bad at typos, find a friend who is good at them and buy that person dinner and just have them scan your script.
Good advice.
And I was going to say, I hate when that happens. Where I'm like, I swear I've gone through this 20 million times. Like, how did I not catch that one? And then it just sticks out like a sore thumb and you can't stop thinking about it.
I've been here the whole time. Yeah.
Can we go back to when you guys first started writing together for a moment? I'm just kind of curious, like, what was the idea? Like, who had the idea? And then did you just kind of, one of you go to each other and say, hey, like, I got this idea. Do you want to write it?
It was Hillary. Hillary had the idea.
This is going to date us a lot. Okay. You guys might not have even been alive, but no. Winona Ryder was arrested for shoplifting. Do you guys remember this little pop culture moment?
I remember that.
So we were like, what if Winona Ryder was like a really bad actress instead of a good actress, right? And she had to do community service. And then Liz came in with like this Shakespeare competition kind of thing. She has to go do community service with like underserved youths, and she has to teach them Shakespeare. And she's like famous, but she's famous for being a really terrible like actress. We had her play a nun ER doctor in the fake show within the movie was called Hands of Heaven.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love this.
I really like this idea.
It was a fun
we probably honestly could probably sell that show right now.
Yes. Isabel and I really like.
So that one was just like a combo idea that we came up with that we thought was really funny. But like one of the ideas, we have a Hallmark movie called Fur Crazy, FIR, because it's, you know, Christmas trees. Yeah. That one was based off an article I read in the LA Times that was about, weirdly, New York Christmas trees. This is a true story. In New York City, your Christmas tree lots have to stay open 24 hours a day because there's nowhere to lock up or store the trees at night, right? Because, you know, they're on the sidewalk. And so it was mostly about drunk people trying to buy Christmas trees at 4 a.m, but we cleaned that up for Hallmark.
Yeah, not for Hallmark.
Made that a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
So, but I know you guys... we wanted to talk about falling in love, and that was that's Liz's idea. So,
well, I had a couple of friends who had kind of jokingly applied to these things, and then there was another article I'd read about.
Well, explain what it is, Liz, in case the listeners don't know.
Oh, sure. So it's about a woman who enters an essay contest to win an inn, and she wins an inn in New Zealand and thinks it's amazing, only to get there and find out it's a complete dump. So this is actually
These win and in things are real.
Yeah, they're real. And I'd read an article about how people, you know, they think they're getting some amazing farmhouse in Maine, and then they show up and it's just this like blighted property, and they're like, oh no.
Yeah.
So we just thought, you know, the whole kind of move to a small town trope is definitely a familiar one, but this just felt like a fun kind of different way than it isn't just inheriting your grandmother's Victorian mansion.
And as soon as Liz told me this idea, I loved it because I love like a money pit kind of situation. And there's just comedy. I love that movie Money Pit, and like I was just like, yes, this writes itself. Even though it took
even though it didn't actually, we had to write it.
So was it a spec script, or did you already have a relationship with Netflix at that point?
We have a producer friend that we've worked with, and we had a script. We had been kind of developing it for a bit, and this new division was opening, and she said, hey, do you ladies have anything? You know, I'm going to send some stuff over. And we said, well, we do have this one thing, and that ended up being the movie.
That's so cool.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, so we work, our movies are a division. Well, now there's been a little bit of a changeover at Netflix, but at the time it was called Low Budget Independent.
It was original independent film.
Yeah, which was it's kind of a weird title because the mandate at that point was romantic comedies and thrillers. So it sort of was like, not sure what, but it's we work for basically one executive there, and she's been really great, and we've done all of our movies for her. So so after that Falling in Love was a script. And then, fortunately, all of our other movies and projects that we have set up there have now just been pitches or outlines. We've had 2 different blind deals with Netflix. Which is, for your listeners, if they don't know, they just go ahead and make a contract for money, and then they're like, you'll bring us 3 ideas, and we'll bring you 3 ideas, and then we'll settle on one, and you'll write it. So, like, you don't have anything yet, but they have faith that will come up. And by the way, our movie that's coming out early next year, La Dolce Villa, came out of our first blind deal there. So,
and Love Guaranteed was actually Rachel Lee Cook's idea. Okay, we got this email from her that was like, you know, what if Susan, whatever, blah blah blah, and blah. It was like, you know, just a paragraph, and we were like, that's a great idea.
I loved that movie.
Yeah, for Love Guaranteed, Rachel's idea was she had read an article about some guy who sued the Coors Brewing Company because they're like, it's made with Rocky Mountain water. They're like, no, it's literally made with tap water from the city. So then she thought, wouldn't it be funny if somebody sued a dating website for, you know, like false advertising? And we were just like, once again, writes itself, although it didn't. We wrote it.
Well, and we both met our husbands online, so we were like, we have been through those trenches. We have been part of that war. We totally have stories. So yes, we both
exactly. So I mean, ideas come from everywhere. So our movie that is coming out sometime next year, called La Dolce Villa, was actually Ted Sarandos' idea. So who is he's in charge of Netflix, and he had read an article about these €1 houses in Italy. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
I've heard of those.
Houses for €1, but you have to like commit to fixing them up, and so it's a family. That one's a father-daughter story, and also a romantic comedy based on €1 house. Thematically, a little similar to Falling in Love. So
I love construction in rom-coms.
Well,
we love houses.
We love houses, and people love renovation because it's fun. You know what I mean? That's why there's 2 entire cable channels devoted to renovation. And then there's a House Hunters International element to it too, because like my husband and I love to lay in bed at night and watch House Hunters International. You know, so.
Well, the whole point of it's fun for other people to watch. It's not necessarily fun for the person in it.
True.
True. Yourself sex, but
yes. The one rule we learned from a producer that we both worked for was torture your main characters. So that's very important. Even in a rom-com.
Were you able to be on set for any of your rom-coms? We did get to go to Falling in Love. So Roger Cumble, our director, was amazing. He wanted us there, so he flew us there.
So cool.
And it was really exceptional. Neither of us had ever been to New Zealand before. And it's really neat to be on set and see the magic. We were going to try to go to A Perfect Pairing, which was set in Australia, but that was the height of their COVID lockdown, so it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then for La Dolce Villa, it's just the timing was wrong. We have very high class problems, which is after the strike ended, the WGA strike ended, we actually had like 5 scripts we needed to write, and so we just had to. We're still working on them. We just had to stay. We just had to stay home and work. You know, we didn't have the luxury of getting to go to Europe. So, I mean, like I said, very high class problems. So it's nice to be busy, right?
It's amazing. Yeah, the Wanderlust rom-com is one of our favorites.
Yes, the vacation you can take on your couch.
Yes,
it's like very.
I think that's what audiences really want. So you're tapping into the right subgenre for
sure. Well, we love writing them.
It's fun. And it's really fun thinking of like places we can go and things we can do. Like when we wrote A Perfect Pairing, we already had it in mind. We often work with the same producer, and her name is Robin. And we already had Adam in mind because we'd all worked together on Falling in Love, Adam Damos, the male lead. Yes. And we love him. And he's such a warm, genuine, funny person and incredibly good looking. And I was gonna say, and like in real life, you're just like, oh my God, like let me look away. You were so handsome. But anyway, he's just so charming. Anyway, we wanted him, so we were like, well, he, it could be set in America. We're like, but let's just have it be that he's Australian and it's set in Australia and he gets to. So we were like, we were so excited to go to Australia and we were so bummed it didn't work out.
The timing.
Yeah, they had visas for us and everything, but like the flights we found would have taken forever. And then we just didn't want to be the American writers that show up and bring COVID to the set. So we just thought, you know what?
And it was a 2-week quarantine, and I don't eat meat, and they couldn't guarantee that they could give you vegetarian food in the quarantine. It was like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. But they shot that during a lot of COVID protocols in Australia, COVID protocols that were even like kind of more insane than ours, and and it looks great. Like you can't tell, you can't tell that everyone was in masks and all sorts of stuff was going on. So it's fortunately those protocols have pretty much disappeared.
Yeah. Can you guys talk a little bit about do you guys have any conflict with each other when you're writing, and how do you deal with that? Or I'm also curious to know if either like one of you ever hits a writer's block, but then the other isn't, and how you navigate that.
I mean, the beautiful thing is of a writing partnership is while you do split the money, you do have the gift of, oh my God, I'm on page 39. And even though we have the outline, I'm like, I'm not feeling it. Like the scene, so you have someone you can send it to. Right. Or if we're brainstorming and you hit a wall, there's somebody else who will have an idea. And generally when she's stuck, I'm not stuck. When I'm stuck, she's not stuck. So it really, really balances each other. We balance. And we each have different strengths we bring to it. I mean, she's much better with story logic and story architecture, and dialogue is kind of my favorite part, but we've each learned from each other. And so I think it again, it's two hemispheres of the same brain.
Yeah. We fortunately, once again, like I said, we get along great. We don't have a lot of conflict.
I can't stand her.
You'll tell us off the pod later.
You guys, I'm going to put this in. I'm putting this in the chat.
We'll do a separate episode with Liz.
Yes, this is in the chat.
I will tell a funny little thing, that passive aggressive thing that we do. So Liz is right. Liz is really good at the jokes. And trust me, sometimes Liz is great at the structure, and sometimes I write a joke that everybody laughs at, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know. But I do. She does tend to be more of the joke writer. So sometimes we'll be going back and forth, especially when the script gets a little further along, and she changes a joke that I loved, and I just change it back to her joke. And then she tries to change it again, and then I just change it back. I'm like, stop changing your original joke, Liz. The original joke was hilarious. Like, so that's not the most passive aggressive thing that we do to each other. So, but not all writing partners get along. I used to date somebody that was in a team, and they did not. My husband now is not in the entertainment business, and I'm full for that.
Yeah.
But I used to date somebody, a guy that was in a writing team, and they didn't get along at all. And I think, I think that's too bad, because you spend so much time of your life with this person, even if it's not in the same room. It's like we're sharing this career, and this career that brings both of us huge amounts of joy, and we constantly feel fortunate for it. It would be really sucky to share that with somebody I didn't like and didn't like talking to.
Well, and also it's not only just a person to share the good times; it's a person to share the bad times. I mean, there was one meeting we went to where the executive thought he was meeting a different writing team, and he didn't realize he was meeting the wrong writing team. And once he realized that he was meeting us, this was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And he had not liked our script. And it was the worst meeting ever. And we like got in the elevator, and we just like waited for the doors to close. And then we were like, and we went for a drink, because there's nothing. I mean, it was like 11 o'clock in the morning. And we're like, we're going for a martini, because that was the most hilariously I mean, it's like, it would be so demoralizing if it weren't hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, so it's true. You have somebody for the hard times too, which I'm just going to for a second and say, like, something that I'm sure other writers have talked about it on your podcast, which is there are good years and then there are bad years, and the bad years can stretch for a long time. Liz and I had probably 2 years where every deal that we were supposed to have happen fell apart. And we both had to take other jobs during that time to support ourselves. And I still do one of my other jobs, which is teach yoga. And but now, because I love it. So it's like, you know what I mean? And so it was good, because we didn't give up on each other during that time either. We were in the same boat. And so it's nice to have somebody else paddling that boat.
I know. I wish we could go to, like a graduate film school and teach the classes that you actually need to have, which are don't spend all your money and like rejection 101. And, if there's any kind of side hustle that you can do while you're doing, just keep it as long as you need to, because there's no shame in having, an extra, because the writing, it's a roller coaster. It goes way up, way down. And as long as you just don't go too high with the highs or too low with the lows or blow your paychecks, then, I had a boss who told me in the beginning, when I was working in development, he was just talking about the film industry in general. He was like, if it's really, really what you want to do and you can't imagine yourself doing anything else, just don't quit. Because so many people quit. And again, this was in the 90s when it was like the salad days of development and writing deals and production deals. So it was a little different then. But I think, it's really easy to get demoralized when your phone isn't ringing and no one's, setting up meetings and nobody seems to care. But it's like you're always one script away from that changing. You're always that one spec script away from the roller coaster going back up.
I mean, a good example of that is when we had this long stretch of unemployment, and we had tried to set up a project with Awesomeness TV at Lionsgate, and it looked like it was going to go, and then it fell apart. And so the woman Shauna, who was the head of that was when Brian Robbins ran Awesomeness TV, and Shauna was like his second in charge. She called us because she had loved the work we had done on that project. And she's like, we have a TV series going. I talked to the showrunners and they would like to meet you to staff. And we had never staffed on a show before, but we were like, okay, cool.
Okay.
It was supposed to be a 3-month job. It turned into a year and a half.
It was an 8-week job.
8-week job.
Yeah.
It turned into a year and a half. So close. We grew so close to the showrunners. Absolutely loved them. We stayed on the entire length of the show. It was this amazing experience that just came out of this relationship where something had failed, something had fallen apart, where we didn't get the job. So it's like Liz was saying, it's just stick with it, and then eventually it's like, I quit my other side hustles, and, we went to work and we went to a writer's room every day. It was phenomenal. So it's like, yeah.
And actually, I mean, going back to when we first were looking for representation, people were asking to read our script, and this was our first spec script, and so we sent it to probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 people, and we were like, oh, this is great. Like, they all passed, including somebody that I had interned for in college. Mm-hmm. And the 8th person loved it and sold it. So, it's like, I remember being so depressed about those first people, but I'm so glad that the 8th person was the person, because I don't know if it would have worked out the way it would have with those. So you never know what's good luck or bad luck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's really hopeful.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. We've been talking about, how just this year, especially, like, people are holding out for 2025, apparently, because things are really slow right now in Hollywood.
It is very slow. It is very slow. So I mostly, but we mostly picketed at Fox. And I was really into it, and I'd go picket every day during the writer's strike. And we have these reunions, because I don't know why the Fox people, I guess the other people that other studios don't do it, but Fox, we all get together and like we go and like hang out in the park and stuff. And so many of my picket friends are not working, and it's a little tough out there. It's what happens after any kind of strike. There's a contraction, and it will pick up. It will, because in the end, TV shows and movies got to be made, right? Like,
they want new stuff.
Yeah. And rom-coms. I wanted to ask about the rom-com, and if both of you like when this love of the genre began, and why the rom-com?
I mean, I've always loved asking how people meet. How did you meet your husband? How did you meet your girlfriend? How did you meet your how did you meet your writing partner? And even when I'm watching any kind of movie, even if it's like a detective story, like, I always like it more if there's a little bit of a love story in there. So I've just always loved love stories.
I think I just always loved romance too. When I was like a teenager, oh my God, I'd read those like bodice ripper books. I loved them, so, and then I think Liz and I both also just, we like to write comedy. I just think it infuses everything that we write. So,
we write what we want to watch.
Yes,
and,
exactly. Yeah. And romantic comedies have always brought me just deep happiness, especially because life can be hard and the world can be kind of scary. And romantic comedies, everything is happy and good.
I'm the person who saw Bridget Jones' Diary in the theater 3 times, and then I was on a plane earlier this year and they had it, and I was like, what the hey, and watched it all again. It's they take, life can be its own roller coaster, and so it's nice to have this little, and I think for us, even when life is hard, it's nice to be able to go. I mean, especially during the pandemic, it was like, oh, we get to go to Australia today and just write Australia and research Australia and research all of that, and it takes, even the writing of it is escape.
That's so true.
Yeah. It's a wonderful genre for sure, and we need more of them. I also had a question about, so now are you just writing for Netflix, or are you also doing Hallmark as well?
We have a number of script commitments at Netflix, for 3. I think we have 3 upcoming. So, but we don't just write for Netflix. We're very fortunate to have such a great home at Netflix. We actually sold a television pilot to ABC Signature and Amazon, and that's not a romantic comedy. So it's a comedic procedural.
Cool.
So it'll be something a little different for us. So no, we haven't written at Hallmark recently, but obviously we're always open to it. And we've also have a project at a company called Mar Vista, and they have their own magazine. So it's just that we do have a really nice home at Netflix, and
we're lucky.
We're very fortunate. We love writing there. So.
Yeah, they make really good rom-coms. We really like Love Hard as well. That rom-com. They make some really good ones.
That's the same division.
Awesome.
And they're good people too.
They are very good people at Netflix. We love the people we work with at Netflix, and they're very creative friendly, and really, really good partners, and very communicative, and very supportive of the movies, try to get them publicity and all of that kind of stuff. So
that's awesome. I would say that Love Hard and Love Guaranteed are like my 2 favorite of the recent rom-coms on Netflix.
And for me, it's Falling in Love and Love Heart, I think. Those are the ones that come to mind.
Yeah. I know I'm from Seattle, so sometimes I'll rewatch it and be like, oh, the drone shots. I'm like, oh, there's a
I grew up
Bridge.
in Seattle as well. Liz,
oh, really?
So. Yeah, I live on Bainbridge now, but I grew up in Seattle. Yeah, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I used to live in Seattle, so we're like, this is the crossover. Seattle section of our pod.
Not me. I'm in Seattle. For
you came there you were there for my wedding.
Yeah, we need more films made here, because years ago I worked as like a production assistant on some independent films in Seattle, but I feel a lot of them went to Canada
it's always Vancouver for Seattle, and I'm like, Seattle.
No.
Actual
10 things I hate
Singles. Oh my god, my friend lives in the building from Singles.
That's
cool. We had like a viewing party when they got their place, and we were just like, oh my gosh, like it's hilarious.
I love it.
So I had a question that I kind of wanted to like kind of backtrack a little bit to the writing duo that I think our audience would probably be curious to just hear some advice. Maybe if they're out there, either like they haven't been in a writing duo before, maybe they're considering it with their friend, or like, I've even been in a situation where a producer's been like, hey, do you want to try writing with this other person that I know? So I'm kind of curious if you have like some tips or rules or advice maybe to kind of give to our audience of like, if you're considering joining a writing duo or considering asking your friend to write together, like how to go about that.
I think it's a little bit like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Hilary. It's a little bit like dating.
It is like dating.
You do have to feel feel comfortable. Exactly.
There has to be.
I hate you. Let's write together.
No, there has to be chemistry. And
there has to be chemistry, and there also has to be this thing of you can be your whole self, in the sense of you don't hold ideas back. You feel comfortable pitching even the dumbest thing, and we'll still preface like, okay, this is probably the dumbest idea, and sometimes the other person is like, yeah, that is the dumbest idea, but it made me think of this. So you need to feel, I feel like with Hilary, there's anything I can pitch to her, and even if it's bad, she won't be like, that's the worst idea. She'll be like, okay, I see where you're going here, but that's not totally working for me, but what about, you want to feel like you can just speak openly.
And like I said before, there's a lot of writing duos that I think they start off being friends, and then they have very different styles or very different approaches, and then they start to grow to clash and dislike each other. I think the reason that Liz and we've been writing together for over 20 years, and I think that the reason why is that we still get along so great is because we really do we don't have the same approach to writing, but since we don't write in the same room, that doesn't matter, but we have the same approach to material. And what's most important is we really like a lot of the same stuff. Like, we think the same jokes are funny, and we think that the same ideas are like good ideas, not 100%, but like most of the time we're very creatively on the same page, because like how Liz was saying before about like, a lot of people pass on your script and then it only takes the 10th person to like it to make it happen or whatever. It's such a subjective medium, right? Like, I can't stand horror movies. I know that they have value, and I'm sure that they're well made. I couldn't sit through one, right? So it's subjective, right? And so therefore, the same thing when you're writing with a partner, it really helps if you sort of have the same viewpoint towards the whatever genre you're writing in,
Well, and again, I mean, this is just to quote Hilary's husband, actually, in terms of what makes a successful marriage. It's the same thing with a writing partnership, which is shared goals. You want,
you're working together, you're working individually and together for shared goals.
Yeah.
So, and I think the way you find a writing partner, we have some friends, Nancy and Celine, and they were actually just long-term friends for a really long time, and they had been writing separately, and then they tried writing together, and they sold their first thing. So it's sometimes just somebody who's already in your life. You just kind of got to look around and be like, hey, why not? And what's so great is you can start writing a script with somebody, and then you're like, wow, I do not want to write with you, and you haven't committed that much, right? Because normally you try working on a spec together, right? So it's like, so I think it's just sort of looking around of like, who is this person that would have these shared goals, who I do get along with. We approach material sort of with the same viewpoints, and then just try it out. That's just sort of the way to do it, because you'll know right away, just like dating. You kind of just know right away if it's going to work or not. So it's so much fun. We still have fun. And I mean, there's times it's stressful and hard, but we still. No, but we still have fun. It's just such is, and it's. I mean, and this is just a tangent having not to do with duos, but I constantly feel so grateful that I get to make my living from this, and so
me
it's
too.
also nice to share that joy with somebody else. So
yes,
yeah, that's so fun.
Yeah,
I'm curious. So so many rom-coms are made today, and Isabel and I have talked about this a lot. Like, a lot of them aren't great. And like in the early 2000s, like just we rewatch those all the time. We rewatch the 90s ones, some of the 80s ones. Like, I'm curious what you think makes a good rom-com and why some have like stood the test of time, and how, just from a writing perspective, what makes a good rom-com.
I think a good rom-com is one that has some sort of universal. Well, first of all, it has to be well made, well cast, it has a good production value, good director, but something that has a universal theme or universal question about love, or a universal it's something people identify with. I mean, the easiest one to think of is When Harry Met Sally. Like, can men and women be friends? Like, that's a thesis statement that stands the test of time. That I think that is important. I don't know, Hilary, what do you think?
I think that I'm going to go ahead and say I think a good rom-com is the writing. I mean, yes, I agree. Casting is so important because you don't have chemistry between your leads. But the reason is, I think, unlike other genres, romantic comedies, they have to sparkle. We always call it the sparkle. There needs to just be this level of sparkle. Like, we watch an action movie, the dialogue is very secondary. I want there to be some like great chase scenes and some explosions. I want some like hunky actor to take their shirt off. If I'm watching the Fast and Furious, I just want to see all those hot guys in cars, right? But certain genres actually rely a little bit more on the writing and the storytelling and the dialogue, and I think romantic comedies do. So
I agree, but I would also add to that in the same way that we were talking about the chemistry of a writing partnership, the chemistry of the two leads. That is, there are so many times where like the script is great, but you're like, oh, I don't believe these two people are in love, or one person kind of seems like they don't really want to be here. It really the chemistry of the two people really is crucial.
We just talked about this in our episode that we haven't released it yet, but our last episode we discussed A Family Affair and The Idea of You, and that was sort of our sentiment with A Family Affair. Was like the script was great, like there was a lot of really funny moments, but I just didn't believe the chemistry between, as much as I love both Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron. I felt like the chemistry was off. I was going to say that as a movie I liked during the part where you guys ask us the questions. So now you'll have to
get off the podcast.
You can't disagree with us.
No, you can totally disagree. But
I felt like the chemistry was really good in The Idea of You, and I felt that. So but again, it's like the writing. I think in both of them, I really enjoyed a lot of the like little witty one-liners, a lot of the little monologues and stuff. So I agree that I think the writing and the casting chemistry like can really make a good rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now we're going to ask you some rapid fire questions. The airport. What are we calling it? The airport chase scene questions.
Love
they're
it.
in the chat as well. Okay. So I guess I'll start. What is your favorite rom-com and why?
I'll go. So I'm going to do 1.5 because really Working Girl is pretty much one of my favorite movies of all times, but it's only partially a rom-com since I also think of it sort of as like a business com or whatever. So just straightforward rom-com is While You Were Sleeping. I think that like when we were everything we've been talking about, the writing is fantastic. The chemistry between Sandra Bullock and Bill Pullman is just amazing. It's so funny. The directing's phenomenal. some of the funniest things in While You Were Sleeping were not in the script, like when she dunks the Oreo when cookie in her cat's milk when she's eating a meal with her cat, when the paper boy slips and falls on the icy roadway while delivering papers. These were just all things John Turteltaub did, and it has the perfect ending. It's very gimmicky romantic comedy, but yet it works. It's just very sophisticated and adult. So
it's really one of my favorites with the ring and the payment area. That's really good.
Yes. Yes.
Mine is Bridget Jones' Diary. I loved the book, and it's just one of those ones that it's just easy to go back to because it's so well cast, it's so well directed. It just feels like comfort food.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, that's a really great one too.
All right, what is your favorite rom-com trope to write?
So mine is definitely the like the unexpected touch, like when you like we always put one or two of these in, like when they each reach for the ketchup bottle and then the sparks fly because their fingers touch, or they get trapped in a closet and they're like close to each other. But whatever those kind of things are, I love writing these. I think they're really fun.
Really good.
I love writing the meet cute because it's a challenge because they're basically every possible one has been done. And so how do you find one that feels a little bit different? And, that's the challenge. And it's just sort of, a personal challenge to us. And it's not always easy.
Yeah. I love in Falling in Love that like she thinks there's a snake and then they have to touch because he like saves her.
Yes. And there are no snakes in New Zealand.
Yes.
So.
But I thought that was believable because I would also like as a foreigner, I would also be really scared.
I saw a snake hiking the other day. So yes, we have snakes.
Nice. Okay. Favorite rom-com outfit from a film you've seen?
So mine is definitely going to be Cher from Clueless. So I was just very tangentially involved in that movie, and my roommate at the time, she worked for Scott Rudin, and who produced the movie, and we actually were in these little clips we went to this set. They were doing these special clips for MTV and filming out in the Del Amo Fashion Mall. And my roommate Wendy and I went, and they needed extras. And so Mona May, who did the costumes and is kind of known as the 90s teen and romantic comedy costume designer, she designed us for these little MTV clips. And we got to wear clothes that she picked out. It was very, very fun. And we got to be in the background of Cher and shopping and stuff. So
that's so fun. Yeah, we interviewed Mona May and we got to hear all the stories from that. It was so cool.
On Spotify now.
She's
check out that episode.
Yes, absolutely. She's amazing.
Yeah, she was really cool.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. Can I cheat and say the entire costume montage from Devil Wears Prada, which is
that counts? Yeah. Love a good costume.
Or any of the outfits from the original Sabrina. With Audrey Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart.
I'll have to watch that again.
That's a good one. Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite moment or line from a rom-com?
It's funny because Liz and I were talking about this the other day. So I have one, unfortunately. So 16 Candles was my favorite movie when I was a teenager, and it made me want to become a writer. And now, of course, we look back at 16 Candles and we realize it's a little problematic, but I still love it. The love story in it is still so amazing. And at the very end of the movie, and I just remember being a teenager, and this was just perfection. So Jake Ryan goes to pick Samantha up after her sister's, horrible wedding, and everybody had forgotten Samantha's birthday. And he makes this beautiful cake for her, and they're sitting on his dining room table. And he goes, "Happy birthday, Samantha, make a wish." And she said, "It's already come true." And then they kiss.
I just got chills remembering that.
hot, rich Jake Ryan to come and save us.
So,
it's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
That was a great one. I forgot about that moment.
I need to rewatch. It's been a while for me for that film, so
I love
that. Rewatch it. Yeah,
I remember seeing that when I was younger too.
I have so many. I mean, I love Billy Wilder, so like anything from The Apartment, like, and like Jack Nicholson has all these little sort of like that's the way it crumbles, cookie wise kind of moments. But in Some Like It Hot at the end, and it's the ending where Joey Smith is driving off in the boat with Jack Lemmon, and Jack Lemmon takes off his wig, and he's like, "But I'm a man," and Joey Lewis goes, "Well, nobody's perfect." And it's just darling.
I haven't seen that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's great. It's Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
It's very cute. So Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis dress up.
They're musicians on the lam from the mob, and so they hide out in an all women's review. It's
so it's like Perfect Strangers or any of these things where they dress up. You know what I mean? As women to be able to get to enter this all women, or like Sister Act. It is very funny. It's very cute. And Marilyn Monroe is really fantastic in it.
Yes.
I will look it up. Okay, next question. Have you seen any rom-coms you'd recommend?
Well, the movies I've seen most recently that I really did like were Family Affair and Mother of the Bride and The Idea of You. And I thought that they were all different, but one of the things that I really liked about them in common, they were all very enjoyable watches to me, is Anne Hathaway is only 41. She plays a mom, but the other two ladies, Brooke Shields and Nicole Kidman are late 50s. And I just think it's really nice to see this small movement in romantic comedies of showing moms and showing women who are middle-aged are still desirable and still have love lives and are still the objects of romance. Because a lot of times there was a time where it's like romantic comedies only happen to people in their 30s. And I guess when you're 40, you just don't deserve love anymore, right? After age 40. So true. I didn't meet my husband until I was in my 40s. You know what I mean? So I think that I love that there's a space for older, mature women leads in romantic comedies.
Agreed.
Yeah, and my favorite, I like kind of going back into the vault. I mean, one of my favorite movies is Crossing Delancey. That's Amy Irving and Peter Riegert, and it's just beautiful. And Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy, there's one called Adam's Rib. They're married lawyers who are on the opposite ends of a domestic shooting case. It's in a funny way though. And then there's another really great one that if you miss Alan Rickman, there's a movie called Truly, Madly, Deeply, where he plays a ghost, and Juliet Stevenson is his wife, and it's about moving on after grief. And it's like they're beautiful, ones. I wish we still had video stores, because you could go in and wander, and like the guy behind the counter would be like, "Oh, you should watch this," A Little Romance. And
I love that movie.
One. Yes, Diane Lane, Laurence Olivier.
I love
reading the staff. I always loved going to see what the staff picks things were, and I'd be like, "Ooh, I really vibe with Ryan's List or whatever." It's
right, exactly.
Yeah, no,
really
growing
nice.
up. Actually, we grew up. We didn't have a TV, and the guy behind, but we had a VCR. It's a long story. The guy at the video store would tape the Anne of Green Gables movies for me, and I still have the tape somewhere.
It's amazing.
That's so
I don't have a VCR, but I have the tape. So
you can get one.
Okay. Last question for this: if money didn't matter, and you had a magic wand, you could just make any movie or idea you wanted to, what would that movie look like or be?
So I don't think this is going to be it might be controversial. I don't actually think about money. Our movies are fairly low budget or moderately budgeted, but I don't actually think about money when we write them. I don't ever let it hold back my creativity. And I think Liz feels the same way. We always write for the stars, and then we work with our producer Robin or whatever producer we're working on, and then figure out how to make it. We mentioned earlier that Liz and I worked for the same producers at one point, but at different times. And one of them, Jeff, used to always say, "You can make any movie for any budget." He's like, if you wanted to make Star Wars for $50 in your backyard, you can. You can go and get little action figures and use your phone, right? And so it's true. I feel I just don't think about budget when we write, And really, in romantic comedies, budget usually falls into your casting like that, right? Because it's we still managed to write these movies that take place in like Italy and Australia and New Zealand. So it's just about like, well, where all your money would go would be Julia Roberts, right? So
right.
that's kind of the thing. So it doesn't really it doesn't inhibit, at least for me, storytelling.
Okay, so if you were gonna like sell any movie, or like if you were gonna be like, this movie's gonna get made no matter what, like what's the like big idea that you'd love to do?
You don't have to share details.
Yeah, you don't tell us. Or
give us the log line.
Well, I think, Liz, I know that you feel the same way I do about like more established older actresses being able to be in these in romantic comedies.
And ones that can be. There's a really great movie from the 70s with Jill Clayburgh called An Unmarried Woman that is just, I would totally recommend. She plays Kristen Wiig's mom in Bridesmaid. And it's a great movie about a woman whose husband leaves her, and you know what she goes through after that, and the love that she finds, and I like it because it's unexpected, and you really don't predict it. It just feels real. I like love stories that there isn't someone chasing the person over past the TSA checkpoint. That feels like a real. We can take the chance on stories that feel real.
Yeah, I think the budget isn't a concern to us as much as like we'd love to just be able to sort of push the boundaries of what a romantic comedy is, and then not, not have to worry about the metrics and stuff, just to be able to write something a little more unconventional. I mean, I know that Liz and I both would really like to write a more like Nancy Meyers type romantic comedies. Those ones cost a lot of money. So
just her kitchens are so expensive.
Just for the paint budget alone.
Exactly.
Yeah, we would love to bring Nancy on this show. She's one of our idols.
We'll call her. We're super close.
If you are,
put a big word for us.
Yeah, I'll text her right now. No worries.
Thank you. Okay, well, to wrap it up, can you just tell us, like what's on the horizon for your writing and the Italian movie? Do you know when that comes out, or
we don't know yet. We'll tell you guys a fun fact about Netflix. So when the movie's locked, like the director has done his or her cut, and then the movie gets locked, then they need extra lead time months in advance at Netflix, because they translate it into 25 different languages, because it goes so cool. It debuts on the platform all at once. So it'll be in Italian, it's going to be globally, it's going to be in French, it's going to be in Mandarin, like, right? So because of that, they need really long lead times. Yeah. So it will come out sometime early next year. That's called The Dolce Villa. And we're writing 2 other movies for Netflix right now. Liz, do you want to give a little log line for each of them?
Well, one's a Christmas movie that's a love triangle set at Christmas, and it's called The More the Merrier for now. Cute. And then do you want to do yours?
The other one's an inspirational dog movie. So it's there's a little romantic storyline to it, but it's based on a true story. Not the dog that won Westminster's Masters of Agility Nimble this year, but a number of years ago, there was the first mixed breed dog that ever won a trophy at Westminster, what's called Masters of Agility, dog agility. And so it's a cute inspirational story about like mixed breed mutts, a shelter mutt that had been returned 3 times, like entering this frou-frou purebred world, and like, it's like a sports movie, but with dogs, and like a romantic comedy element. So
I was gonna say, is it Air Bud 4 or Air Bud 5?
Love Air Bud.
A little different. No, but it's been fun because we've had to learn a lot about dog agility for that one, which is really cool.
Oh, fun.
It's really interesting. And it's awesome. Really, if you just Google it on YouTube or something, you'll be like, whoa, like what these dogs can do. So
that's so cool.
And then we also have a comedy that we said at Mar Vista, and that one's with Rachel Lee, and that's a sisters comedy, and it also has a romantic comedy storyline. And we're just seeing what's happening with that. So we work with Rachel a lot, and we like. And she's a good friend. And then we have a television pilot. So we'll see.
You guys are busy.
So many fun projects.
But that's what you got to do, because you never know when things are going to fall apart.
Yeah.
So you got to spread your net wide. So catch as many fish as you can.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for coming on the podcast today. We also want to give you a chance to sort of shout out if you have any social media or anything where people can follow you, if you want to let anyone know how to stay in touch with you or
I'm on
like
Instagram at hgalanoy, Galanoy. And then also I have my own website, hilarygalanoy.com. So if people want to ever check out my website, I just stay updated with what movies are coming out and stuff. So
cool.
Oh, well, I was a big Twitter person, but like in terms of just like active on it, but it's now it's X, and it's whatever. I don't know. I miss it. I have a lot of
on there. So go ahead and give your handle.
It's just at Liz Hackett with 2 T's. Yeah, I miss old Twitter. That was fun.
It was a really fun time. That's where Isabel and I met.
That's
where
I know. I'm not on there anymore now. I just feel like it's
I know. I have real friends. I have this like text chain that's been going for 6 years with 3 other women from Twitter. That are like,
it's a great way to connect with people. But well, thank you so much.
I'll pour a spindrift out for Twitter. So.
Thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you for having us today. This was super fun. We
really
enjoyed it. So
so happy to hear that.
Such a thrill.
And say enjoy Seattle today. I'm just
come
very homesick. Very homesick. Yes, I will.
Right over romcom set there.
Yes,
please. We need more romcoms here. I'm serious.
Okay, wait. Let's circle back to the budget thing. We'd like to write a rom-com set in Seattle and film it in Seattle.
Yeah,
I would like to actually.
I want that too.
on Bainbridge Island, which is beautiful.
Yes. I'm actually writing a rom-com just for this on spec, just for myself, but set on Bainbridge, and it's
that's
really
great.
Fun.
Oh,
with older ladies.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Yeah. I was just gonna say you have a good rom-com.
Awesome.
All right. Right up our alley.
Yes.
I can't wait to watch it. I'm ready to watch. Hurry up, write fast.
Okay.
Write faster.
I will write faster.
Okay.
Bye, ladies.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. This has been an episode of When Isabel Met Aviva. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to stay up to date with our episodes, please subscribe. Bonus points if you leave us a positive review. We may even read that review on the air.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Instagram at When Isabel Met Aviva and on Twitter at Isabel Met Aviva. We're both on Instagram and Aviva is on Twitter. If you have any questions or need advice about your screenwriting career or just want to obsess over rom-coms with us, feel free to shoot us a message, send us a tweet. Feel free to reach out.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we will see you for season 3. I guess season 3 is coming up. So
season 3 coming soon. I think we have one more interview, right? At the end of this month?
No, I think. Well, okay, we can cut this out. But I think I think this will be our 20th episode. Like,
oh wow, really?
Right now.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh,
yeah.
Look at us.
We can cut that part out.
Unless we want to do our seasons based on like
what
the old episodes, you know, like I feel like the OC and like 90210 like one season would be like 40 episodes.
Yeah, true. There's no limit. Okay. We'll cut this part out. But okay, did we do enough? I think that's
bye
good. Everyone.
I feel like you can leave this in.
I should
like our random
our
stream of consciousness banter.
Okay, we can keep it in for authenticity. Okay, bye everyone.